Hey guys, it's Kevin. Welcome to our little short recap video of what we talked about in the book of Job this week. This is our fifth lesson. We've already done several verses, and today we're going to try to do verses 8 through 12, probably, or 8 through 13. But we're going to do a few verses today, and we're talking about the accusations that Satan has made before the Lord. Satan is in heaven, he's talking to God, and he has these accusations to bring. And so when we get to verse 8, God's talking about his servant Job. You know, God is thinking about Job as someone who is upright and blameless and fears the Lord and stays away from evil. He's just a good example of integrity, high integrity. And he's going to bring Job before the accuser, because Satan is always negative. He's always looking at the bad things. He's always just a really negative person. And so God's like, I'll just give him my best. And so he gives Satan the idea of consider my servant Job. And then Satan responds, because this is what the accuser always does. It doesn't matter if it's a false accusation or a true accusation. The accuser always knows how to accuse. And he says, yeah, Job, he's not as good as you think he is. Verse 9, he says, does Job fear God for nothing? What Satan is saying is that Job only fears God because he gets something out of it. It's a selfish worship. It's something that it's benefiting to Job if he follows God. And that's the only reason that he's doing it. And Job would not worship God if there was nothing in return. That's what Satan is saying. He's like, look, he's just not a good person because you've blessed him, and of course he's going to follow you. And so I led with this question for our class, thinking about the benefits that we have by following the Lord. And there are many benefits that we have. Job had lots of possessions and family and all that stuff. But let's think about the benefits that we had as Christians. And so we had a good discussion on this, different things that we can talk about. But, you know, salvation is one that we have. We've been promised salvation. But even if you think about earthly benefits, thinking about following the commandments and the wisdom, you know, if you follow the wisdom of the Bible, that's going to keep you out of a lot of trouble. Might keep you out of jail. Might make your relationships stronger, your marital relationship stronger. Just the fellowship of believers, you know, having that community, that's something that's biblical, but it's also something that it nurtures our, you know, we intrinsically want to have that community. When the church body works together, as Paul talked about, when the body of believers comes together, we encourage each other, we lift each other up using our spiritual gifts. There's so many different benefits that we have as Christians, both on earth and after we pass away, the spiritual gifts and blessings that we have. And that's because God loves us. God loves to reward us. There's so many scriptures about the rewards that we have waiting for us in heaven. James 1 talks about, you know, if we go steadfast under trial, we're going to receive the crown of life. So there's crowns that we can receive. Jesus says, don't store up treasures on earth, store them in heaven. So we're going to have treasures in heaven. There's so many different verses that talk about the rewards that we have one day waiting for us. 1 Corinthians 3, 11 through 15 is my favorite passage on this one, and you can look it up on your own. But Paul's talking about every work that you do is going to be tested one day by fire, and some of them are going to burn up, but the good works are going to stay, and they're going to remain, and there's going to be rewards for them. There's certainly many rewards that we have for being a follower of Jesus, and that's because the Lord loves us. He loves to bless us. He loves to give us rewards and to you know, bless our obedience to Him. But what if all of those blessings were gone? What if we didn't have any promise of rewards or crowns or salvation? What if we didn't have those? Would we still fear the Lord? Would we still be believers? And that's what Satan is saying there with accusation number 1. But then there's another accusation. After this accusation, Satan turns his attention towards God, and he starts to accuse God. And that's in verses 10, 11, and 12. And he says, look, you have protected Job. You've have a hedge of protection around him. You've blessed him. We've blessed the work of his hand. He's got all of these possessions and money and just he's healthy and everything like that. You've done this. And if you take all that stuff away, put him in someone else's shoes, Job's just going to curse you. And what Satan is saying here is that essentially, you don't know what you're doing, God. You've got the whole system messed up. The whole system is flawed. You don't know how to be God, and you are not a good God at all. And this has visited many people, not just Satan, but this spirit of the accusing God, of disagreeing with God, thinking that God doesn't know what he's doing. That's visited many believers. If you look at Adam said, look, you gave me the woman. Jeremiah said, you're lying to your people. Jonah ran from God and then got mad when God saved the Ninevites. Moses says, no, you got it all wrong. I can't talk. Peter says, no, Jesus, you got it all wrong. You're not going to die. I'm going to make sure you don't die. Gideon doubted. Abraham laughed at God when God said he's going to have a child. There's this spirit of accusing God, saying, God, you don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes we laugh at God, we disagree with God, we get angry at God. But that spirit is from Satan, and it can visit even us as believers. So in summary, there's two accusations in these passages. The first one is, does Job fear God for nothing? The second one is, God, you don't know what you're doing. And then God's going to answer that in verse 13. And he's going to say, all right, you've given me two accusations. Let's go ahead and test them out. And so he allows Satan to test Job. And what he's doing is really is allowing Satan to test God himself. And we're going to see that through the book of Job. We're going to see towards the end where Job answers all of these questions, or where God answers all these questions. And he talks about the complexity of running the entire universe and how God is just all in all, and he's got everything under control, and we can't even grasp how powerful God is. But that's a good recap of what we talked about this week. Hope that you enjoyed this lesson, and we will see you again next week. Thanks, guys.